Hello, guys. I am really happy to be able to talk to all of you right now and to read your comments. Please, traditionally, let me know if you can see and hear me well. And I'm really glad that you are with me. And please confirm if everything is fine and you can hear me and you can see me. I'm very grateful for all the comments that appeared before the start of our meeting. And of course, I have been reading some of the comments because I'm kind of a person who wants to be always on time. So before switching on broadcasting, I've read like some comments of trolls, but never mind. In future, I see that some of you are willing to help with moderating. Please email me. So for the next time, maybe we will think on that. But so far, do not get distracted as like... I'm not going to be distracted by that too. Anyway, trolls are always symbols that things are going right. And also, from what I noticed, I do have some scammers on my channel, and I ask you to report them. I never ask for money or other suspicious things. I never invite you to Telegram channel, and I don't have like an official Twitter page or an official Instagram account that I actively use. So whenever I will have such things, I will inform you on my page. But from what I have understand and from the questionnaires that I've had in among my community members, I see that like the priority is given for YouTube, and that is why. I have seen like the comment of Jake Bro, and I'm super grateful to Jake for his invitation to the channel that gave me many subscribers. And also I'm very grateful for the fact that he is so successful, so nice in talking about Ukraine and attracting people's attention from all over the world. This is invaluable, because when we Ukrainians talk about that, that is one thing. But when the world speaks with us, it definitely helps to be Ukraine more prominent and more visible. Thank you for all the beautiful words that you tell me, and I will be ready to update you on the things that are happening right now in the lives of everyday Ukrainians. You remember that I'm not a professional military or like political expert, but I do know what life for an ordinary Ukrainian is. And so please leave your questions. I will be glad to answer them, and like the stream if you like it, as it helps my videos to be more visible, and I believe the world needs to know more about Ukraine. So I see the first question: how are the three students? It is very personal, the fact that I have shared with you a couple of videos with my students. You know that also I work as a university teacher, and I teach at the Department of Applied Linguistics. And I actually felt very sorry for the students that I have introduced you long before the start of the war. Why? Because this is the third course, and they went through the period of COVID, like 2 years, they studied online. They did not have normal classes, and now they don't have normal classes because of war in Ukraine. And actually, our schedule at the university changed too. And for example, we have classes on Saturday. Traditionally, we don't. So today I had a class with them at 8:30 in the morning, and it was interrupted by an air raid. And they took me to a bomb shelter. Why they, not me? Because I have never been like to a bomb shelter before at the university. Many classes were online, or when I was at the university, I was not like I was not yet there. So that was the moment when they introduced me. And actually that bomb shelter looked really cool. I made a picture for, like we say, it's a family archive or whatever. And also I have bought them coffees before the start of the alarm. So we spent time with coffees inside. I offer them to like choose what they want, and they were super happy about that, because I believe here in Ukraine we have to try and to encourage each other, to support each other whenever we can, and that is of course very good. So like, you buy me coffees, I buy coffees to my students, and the process of warming up works pretty well. Um, and well, I will try to read some of the questions. Please always forgive me that sometimes I get lost in them. Also, ignore Russian trolls, as like the world ignores Putin and nobody wants to shake his hand. I did like somebody's comment who said that, like, there was a troll who was saying that Russian army is number one, and someone said, yes, Russian army is number one in casualties, and that is so true, especially when they come to the battlefields of Ukraine. Thank you for comparing Ukraine to America at the time of like 1776. We all know that a very strong country was born, and I hope that our fight and our democracy can be an example for others, ex-Soviet countries that are still looking for that direction and still under the shadow of the Ruski Mir. Okay. So, anxious for your questions and answers. So please give me some questions so that I can provide you the answers. And so greetings from Hungary and Canada and south of Germany and many other beautiful countries, and Denmark. I have watched a couple of Danish films recently, and I have to say I like it. I like them a lot. So many greetings. I'm really happy, and so many greetings from various corners of the world, and we are very grateful for that. So these three of my students, we I actually did not plan to record this video, but they were late, and you know, these are bright students, and I know that they are never late, and they returned like 20 or 30 minutes after the start of the class, and they were cold, very cold, because it's cold outside and it was still very cold inside the university. And I've tried to explain you, we have like very busy schedule right now because we want to finish the semester earlier, because before it's more cold and more dark. So like many classes are compressed and students study a lot, and they were late. And they have decided to visit the funeral of one of our students' father, who died heroically protecting Ukraine. And it is not their group mate. I'm not sure like if they crossed together, but they felt like it was their obligation. And even after the lecture started, we could hear, you know, like there are lots of funerals in my city. And my mom even says that I have to record that to show you the realities, but I don't feel comfortable doing that. So many people do. And there are always loud sounds of signals of cars. And we often have to interrupt classes. And like these students, they are going through very difficult things. And one of them, after I turned off the camera, she told me that she has like a father, a brother, an uncle, a godfather, and all of these men now fighting in the Ukrainian armed forces. And so you can imagine how emotional all of these people. So we have to worry about so many things, starting from we have to hide during the alarm, we have to visit funerals, we have to think about like, I don't know, electricity, water, and at the same time to study. And you know, I see how excited they are about the classes, and this is fantastic. Like, because like maybe 5 years ago, students were normal, they were like always tired, dissatisfied, and now whenever they have an opportunity to have a normal class, not interrupted one, they are really glad and happy about that. What is the temperature in Lutsk today? The temperature was low. When I woke up in the morning before the class, it was like +6 Celsius, because we measure in Celsius, and fog. I love fog. It suits November, but it's good for grog and warm wine and things like that. So, and now it was like maybe 10 during the day, but it is already pretty cold. Um, okay, greetings to Romania. And thank you for saying Slava Ukraini. And I agree that if Jake Bro here, it is a quality stuff. Thank you so much. So, what are the questions? Hi, how long is average scheduled power water outage? Well, it honestly differs because of like how severely the infrastructure was hit in a particular region. And in the center, in the south, the situation is very dramatic. In the west, it is less bad, but it also depends on some districts. For example, we have a couple of electro stations, and some can be destroyed, others still alive. And also, we have like regions supporting other regions and supplying with electricity sharing. I know how it happens. For example, I'm lucky, I live in the center, and we rarely have outages. But these sleeping blocks, I don't know if you call them that way, where there are lots of flats and lots of electricity supplies, they suffered pretty much. And electricity is always connected with water because you need it for water pumps, and many people, it is connected also with heating and other stuff. So approximately they try not to go more than 6 hours. So for example, 6 hours during the day. And if everything is fine, you will be warned. So for example, in Telegram channels, on TV or on Facebook, reading your official pages of mayors and local authorities and web pages of, like, I don't know, electricity services, water services, you will have information that, for example, your streets and a number of other streets will be off electricity from, let's say, 2 p.m. till 6 p.m. But of course, it's not always according to the plan. Another problem is that sometimes the voltage is really low in the system. And I have spoken about in that vlog, but I think it's worth repeating, that war touches you in very unexpected directions. And for example, one of the famous Ukrainian writers shared his story that his mother was operated because of cancer, and the operation went right. But now she's waiting for radiology, and she cannot receive it even in the western part of Ukraine because very often there is not enough voltage in the system, because one of these electricity stations that is close to her hospital was severely damaged. And there are lots of things like that everywhere. And we have to remember that war is not only like missiles, bombs, and other things, but it's like everywhere. So, but at least like the president and everybody is trying to control everything, and to not to make like some districts suffer a lot. If you like this video, please thumbs up. I will be very grateful for the growing number of likes. And okay. Do I have a lot of connections to Ukrainians abroad, refugees, people who left at the beginning of the war? Well, I do have connections with some of these people. Some of my friends, some of my close friends had to leave. The majority of them are women with children, not men. And once again, the majority of them have already returned. Because honestly, it's really difficult to observe what is going on in your country from outside. And I don't think that these people are lying when they say it may be very, very difficult for them like to observe in safety than to be inside. At the beginning, when they come back to Ukraine for a couple of days, they are frightened with this air raid alarms and other things that make them worried. But then it feels like they get used to that, and everything seems normal. Okay. Mm, okay. Um, Greetings to California. What courses do I teach? I teach interpreting and translation. I also teach some EU-related courses like Jean Monnet modules, communicative strategy of the European Union, sustainable language education, media literacy, and creative writing and technical writing. And I like it a lot because like writing was always my dream. Okay. Do I have a regular mail? Yeah, I do. But like I'm not going to share it right now. But does this war or Russian invasion have any impact in how people think about some Ukrainians or regions that were pro-Russian? Well, honestly, this is one of the Russian propaganda images that they want to create, like an image that half of Ukraine or something was pro-Russian. It is not like that. Always regions that are located close to other countries somehow are influenced by the countries they are near. And it's normal, like we have many friends in um, Poland, for example, if we are close to Polish border, people who are closer to Belarus visit Belarus more often, and the same about Russia. People who live in the regions closer to Russia might have more sentiments to the country. But all these pro-Russian separatist movements, they were always Russia-funded, and of course, even the situation in 2014, the start of this war, actually, it was not it was not accidental. It was Russia funded, Russia supported, with Russian tanks that they could not explain how did they appear on that territories. And what Putin did with this full-scale war, he showed a small percentage of people who were, as you say, pro-Russian, or who sympathized Russia, or who felt neutral towards Russia. He demonstrated them the true face of Russia. And now, like, there are lots of people who started to um, like and learn more about their Ukrainian heritage, pay more attention to the language, start teaching their children, and like he reached just the country. He wanted to denationalize Ukraine, to erase our cultural identity. And what he did is just the country. People felt like, okay, we don't want this Ruski Mir. We don't want missiles falling and destroying our architecture, our infrastructure. And like, I think that we often repeat that. Putin did most of the job to unite and to strengthen Ukrainian nation by his actions, by showing his ugly face and this thinness, or like very bad neutrality of Russian society. Okay, someone asked me if I have dacha. This is a phenomenon of many Soviet countries, ex-Soviet countries, like a summer house and an orchard or a garden or something like that. But I don't. But many people do. But I don't grow my vegetables or something. I'm not good. Like, I have to confess, plants die next to me. Not because I have bad energy, but because I forget to sprinkle them with water. I don't know. So I don't have a dacha, but like I like spending time on somebody else's dacha. Okay. Good. Just a second. Do Do you keep a lot of water on hand? Do Ukrainians try to have a few weeks of food and water on hand? Yeah, I do keep water on hand. And I don't really like it because when you come out, for example, in my kitchen or in my bathroom, you will see lots of bottles with water, and you will see like this huge bowls with water, and it is not always like um, it looks not just the design you want to have in your flat, but we have some like drinking water that we buy, and we have some technical water that we might need, I don't know, to wash the dishes or to wash the hands. Also, we all buy lighters and candles and matches, and I have all of that, and my mom constantly thinks that we need more. Also, there was a huge panic at the beginning, and many people were buying sleeping bags and even tents, because one of the funny ideas on Facebook or elsewhere was that, like, if it's really cold in your house, you can put a tent inside of your house, and then it will be warm inside of a tent, inside of a bag, and so on. So, like, of course, there are lots of weird things, but I do have some dry soups, sugar, salt, some canned food. Oh, actually, COVID made us change our balcony into something awful, and now it stays the same, like a storage of everything. And also, I have a cellar in the house, and some things are stored there. And I even have wood in case of like emergency. But Ukrainians, by the way, are people who like buying everything and saving lots of things. So we are good at doing that. Good. I think it's pretty normal. Uh, um, Transnistria, what is the situation on the border? Um, I once again am not an expert, and I'm really far away from Transnistria. But I believe we have to be like very careful with that. And at the beginning, we were waiting for the support of all the countries that suffered much from Russia, like Moldova. And of course, that Transnistria region does not live well, just like DNR and LNR, so-called republics. And so far, like the south of Ukraine is one of the dangerous zones, but I don't feel like something bad can happen right there. Just like I don't believe that Belarus army will attack us directly. How do I keep my positive attitude? Who told you I have a positive? Did you know? Well, like, um, I'm an optimist in my character. There are lots of bad things happening around, and it's weird how quickly you get adjusted to that. It's something in human brain, and just before the start of this video, I watched one short video, a funny video. We often receive, like on our telephones, we receive alarms about the air raids, but also our Ministry of Defense launched a new program that does not need any additional application, and you will have a very awful sound, like the most awful sound ever, informing you about something dangerous. But at first they had test informings, and some of my friends told that like you can get a heart attack or something because just of that sound. Then they mentioned that perhaps you will get that alarms only in case of the danger of the nuclear bombing or something. So many of us associate that when you hear the sound, it's going to be a nuclear bomb. But later they change their mind, and from time to time they inform us about missile attacks. And it looks funny, like when Ukrainian looks at this telephone and says, "Oh my God, it's maybe a nuclear bomb. Oh, this is just a missile attack or a kamikaze drone. Oh, nothing special." So it's so weird how quickly you get adjusted to this really dangerous things. And I don't know. Like, believe me, I do cry sometimes, but I don't like demonstrating that. And when you see so many beautiful people fighting together with you, when you see the support of the world, you get stronger. And another question, just the counter question, and how can I survive with a negative attitude? How can we survive with a negative attitude? This is not the war for resources for us. This is not the war for, I don't know, popularity, economy. This is the war for existence. And we fight for ourselves, for our country, for our freedom. Now we also realize that we fight for the normality of the world. And like, you don't have a choice to fight or not to fight, just to fight. We did not start this war, but we have to finish this war, and it must be won on the Ukrainian conditions. So if you like this video, thumbs up. Sorry that I repeat that, but like, smart people advise me to do that. Greetings to, oh my god, I see like a greeting from a penguin, but you never know. Maybe I had one student who once wanted to work with penguins because they say there is a job of a person who brings penguins up when they fall because they like watching the sky. I don't know if it's a joke, but maybe it's not. Okay. A question. Hi, Anna. I have a question to the other. You talked about the surgeries that need to be postponed and what happens if it already started. Well, traditionally, well, like, they continue doing it because like, when there are districts that are severely under attacks, there were lots of cases when people organized operating theaters, operating rooms in bomb shelters, and like, continued doing that. I remember one very dramatic TV reportage on the news at the start of this war, when it was an attack on Kyiv, and a children's hospital was attacked, which once again proves that Russians are orcs and like, terrorists. I'm sorry, orcs are like not the word for them. They are terrorists. And it was heart surgery hospital or something, a department, and they had to hide these children in the bomb shelter. And there was a girl who spent like more than a day with an open chest, because that was an open chest heart surgery. And later they managed to continue the operation, and the girl survived. And by the way, for me, doctors who continue working during this period, they are also heroes. They all know how to use generators. They all know how to save patients. And there are other things that, like, I know personally from my family experience. I'm not ready to share that, but many people demonstrate heroism, not only on the battlefield, but also on these small battlefields that are everywhere. And like, I have to confess, like, that many people, especially in the semi-dangerous zones, they already ignore air raid alarms, and especially during the operation, so no one will leave a patient. But if we, like, from what I know, like, it's not 100% checked information, but someone told me that ordinary citizens like me, on telephones and everywhere, we receive information, like, general. And if something happens, like, I don't know, the planes go up in Belarus, and Belarus is close to me, we will have this air raid alarm. Or a drone is flying, something minor, we still get this air raid alarms, and we have to hide. And some priority services, like maybe hospitals, they have better information, and they know like that, for example, out of 10 raid alarms that can be dangerous, they know that these are like one level of danger, and that is like a different level of danger. So maybe they know when they have to like 100% react. But maybe this is just a rumor, it's not the checked information, but of course there are some like services people who control of this flying stuff, all of that, they know more than like average informants that provide us with that information. Well, there are different ways to donate to Ukraine and to support Ukrainians. Personally, once again, if you come across some scammers or other things, I fight them. I don't know how to fight them 100% because I block them in the channel and then they appear. I never ask for money. I never invite you to various things that I never speak on my videos. If there is an initiative, or I'm grateful for coffees that you buy, or when you become my patrons, and there are official links on my page, but I like, if something seems suspicious right to me, I do not always have the possibility to answer each email, but whenever I feel that a person can get in trouble by a scammer or something like that, I will definitely answer that question. Thank you for praying. Thank you for thinking about us. I believe all of that positive energy and thoughts, they help us a lot. And at the beginning of this chat, I've read the comments and questions. And I'm really grateful to those people who talk to politicians, who talk to senators, who talk on different levels, because sometimes people lose attention or believe that everything is getting better, or like we are winning this war, but this war is long and it is going to continue. And the fact that there are so many successes of Ukrainian counteroffensive is very important. But at the same time, there are so many things to do, so many things to do, and so many things to repair after we win. And of course, so we do need your support on every possible level, even if it is just a conversation. About Kherson counteroffensive, we are looking forward for Kherson coming back to Ukraine, because this is a very beautiful city. It is very much loved in Ukraine, and it is popular among people. Like Kherson region is popular among people who want to have, like, it's like a resort. It's a very warm, dry climate, and lots of tasty food is grown in Kherson, like watermelons, like sweet cherries, tomatoes, the best tomatoes. And you know, like, even this summer, people on our local markets were so much looking for Kherson melons, and like, we were really sad that they are not on our markets right now, but they will definitely return. And I know that Ukrainian armed forces are really close to Kherson, and we hope that it will come back to Ukraine till the end of this year. I think it's wise that we are not in a hurry, and our generals think about the lives of our soldiers, contrary to what Russia does. And that is why I really believe this will be successful. Okay. Thank you, I'm fine. Greetings to Belgium. Okay, I don't understand why someone would say that Ukraine is too cold or dark to utilize solar power. Ukraine had solar panels and the orcs. Ukraine is open for various green energy sources, and a country that suffered so much from the Chernobyl catastrophe. I can tell you that our people will definitely encourage the politicians, civil society activists, like to work harder on various innovations. And I'm sure that my country and its climate is suitable for solar power, for wind power, and perhaps it's lots of information we will need to take and to learn from our friends in Europe, in the US, like starting from recycling and finishing with green energy sources. So that is so. Good morning, Anna, and good evening to Melbourne, because here we have like 10 p.m. and and it's morning in Australia. So greetings to Australia and to New Zealand. I know that I have subscribers from these beautiful countries, and I dream to visit you one day. Like, war is just like a disease. You always promise yourself that after it finishes, I'm going to travel a lot. That's what I would like to do. Uh, mm, would you support using Ukrainian forces or political power to prompt changes in neighboring states like Belarus or Moldova? I can tell you that like Ukrainian army will never initiate a war in another country. We will never invade a country and change its political situation as Russia constantly does in neighboring countries. But I think the victory of Ukraine can be an inspiration to Belarus and Moldova. But like the situation in Moldova is much better than in Belarus, from what I subjectively see. In Belarus, people have this oldest running European dictator who is 28 years the president of Belarus. The language is almost extinct. And I see some positive tendencies in the Belarus society. I believe in them more than in Russians. So Ukrainian victory and loss and fall of Putin's regime can be a very good signal for their society. And I believe then we won't need armed forces of Ukraine there. How much is the war affecting my student ability to study? Well, a lot, very much. Let me explain that like many universities in Ukraine are destroyed. Many students in Ukraine are killed. Many students in Ukraine went to fight, and now they are soldiers, not students. Many students have their parents and relatives fighting, so they are very much distracted and very emotional. Many students had to flee the regions in which they live and become like internal refugees and adapt. And even those students, for example, like I teach at the regional university where we did not have many students from like really far away, but we do not have normal classes. Well, first of all, you can never predict will your week be offline or online or half a week or something like that. We try to teach offline because that quality is always better. But then when a week starts with severe kamikaze drone attack, with missiles, with infrastructure targeted, then we receive messages like online. It's difficult for students who travel to Lutsk or who don't live here. Then imagine a situation like, for example, today. I had a class in the morning, and during that class, the class was interrupted by an air raid. The class was at the university, and we had to go to a bomb shelter, so we went there together and stayed until the end of the air raid. But after it finished, like another class already began. And if the teacher of that class was not at the university, she's not supposed to come. And students in the bomb shelter cannot have online class with her because of poor internet connection in bomb shelters. You know, they have, I'm sorry, I had a cold. We had really like, by the way, I had a cold because it's really cold at the university. Now not anymore, but like the video, make me feel warmer. So, this online, the teacher cannot have an online class with them and she is not supposed to travel because of the air raid alarm. So many classes are asynchronic, like students simply receive the tasks and they have to do them, and you realize it's not a normal study. But once again, like if it was 1 or 2 classes that could be interrupted, it's one thing. But if you have like 10 classes that can be interrupted during a week, you don't have time to switch, like, because if it was just one lecture, maybe you can postpone it or switch, but you can have like 5 air raid alarms during the day, and you can have like it 3 times a week, and you won't have enough time to switch between the classes. So it influences their ability to study, but it gives them so much motivation. We had one course online in the previous semester. It was an EU Commission funded course, and I had students who joined it from occupied territories, from Kherson region, and they were sharing their stories, and it was like very emotional experience when you see these people joining to you, and it's very, very important. So I think it's really important, and they value this possibility. Like, so if I have any university professors among my viewers, explain your students like they have to enjoy their classes, because like it's always like that, no matter how much you speak, but until you experience the loss or an ability to do something, you don't realize everything. Do you think there could be friendship with Russia if there is a different democratic regime? Yes, in 100 years. Okay, maybe 75 years. It is not only about the Russian regime. Guys, realize that my favorite quote of Winston Churchill: if the country is run by a dictator, it is not a dictator to blame. Russians like Putin. Russians don't like Gorbachev, for example. Russians like Stalin. They choose people like that to be their rulers. They like things. So first of all, it's very difficult for me to imagine a democratic regime. For example, Navalny, he is a huge chauvinist. He says, oh, Ukraine is not as... Okay, let's not talk much about Ukraine. Crimea is Russian from his perspective. So honestly, it's very difficult for me to see a democratic regime in Russia. I plan to live long, but I'm not sure that during my lifetime it is possible, because democracy is built for a very long period of time. But in Ukraine, we're actively building it. We did not want to be a part of the Soviet Union. We were occupied in 1918, 1922. We were fighting for Ukrainian independence, and it was like pretty difficult, you know. And we are constantly fighting. We had so many repressions, deportations, famine, genocides against Ukrainians. Why? Because we wanted to be different. We always wanted to be democratic, not perfect, with lots of problems. But you know problems of your countries, but you don't hate your own citizens. And Russians, they hate their own citizens. Look at the mobilization. Look at their attitudes, their roads, at everything. Like, they find sneakers in Ukrainian middle class or even lower middle class families, and they send them back home. It is a tragedy, actually, of Russian people. Not only Ukrainians are going through a huge tragedy, but our tragedy is like outer. It was caused by Russian aggression, and that tragedy is rotting inside of Russia. So I can imagine friendship with a democratic Russian regime, but I cannot imagine a democratic Russian regime. What is for you the most significant that came out of Rebuild Ukraine conference in Germany? Well, the very, once again, I'm not an expert and I'm afraid to say something wrong on public, but the very conference, Rebuild Ukraine, and the fact that during this wartime, we already speak about the recovery period, and that the strong countries of the world did not leave us and felt that Ukraine has the potential to win this war, and that we are talking about the rebuild of Ukraine, not the rebuild of Ukraine occupied by Russia, as it seemed at the beginning, because many superpowers believe that Putin's blitzkrieg will be successful and soon we will forget about the independent Ukraine. But for me, it is also painful that we are talking about rebuilding when we still have to fight and this war continues, so we don't have to relax. Yesterday I was talking about one like funny thing, and maybe it will be funny for you. We had one expert on TV, and on every TV channel perhaps you have experts like make you doubt whether they are really experts, and he was saying like it's really good that Russian orgs destroy our electric power stations because they were old, they were built during Soviet times, they were outdated, and now after they destroy we will build new according to modern European standards. So perhaps um, there are other ways to rebuild and innovate apart from being destroyed by Russian orgs. But anyway, it's good that we can see this positive side, the positive side of war and like things that are needed for our survival. No, I haven't talked with Operator Starsky about questions and answers with him again, but I think I should. And I have to, like, very often you inspire me to speak with some prominent Ukrainian and not only Ukrainian YouTubers. And I want to do that so much. And I even believe that I can be a good interviewer, but I haven't learned much about this, like things you need for that. And I'm afraid that like I can like do it wrong. So if I have some good teachers and when you introduce me maybe to some like I don't know, programs or things that you use, because then I can try and do it. Yes, thank you for reminding me once again. There are some scammers that from time to time appear on my channel, invite you to various groups. I never invite you to groups, Telegram channels, or other stuff. Never trust things like that. If there will be an initiative that I want you to participate in, I will always report it in my video. If it is a text, I constantly delete them, block them, report them, but they keep appearing, and there are waves of that. So never trust people like that. And of course, I never ask for money. I always ask for your support, for your attention to my country. You can buy me coffees, become my patrons. I'm grateful for that, but be careful, because I don't know how can you find effectively. How can you fight 100% effectively with the scammers or various pages that appear? But it may be quite problematic from time to time. So be careful, and always you may ask me. I do not always have time to answer all the questions, but if I notice that the question has this danger and you believe it is someone different, then of course I will answer, and I will because I very much value the community that we have here, and I don't want you to get in trouble with those ugly troll scammers and so on. No, I haven't been to Cafe in Lviv, but I have been to many Lviv cafes. So maybe I will get there. Lviv is not very far away. No, I don't have moderators yet, but we have discussed it at the beginning, so maybe I will try to invite some of you. Email me, and maybe for the next time we can trade it with a moderator. Once again, not because I'm afraid of Russian trolls, I can ignore them, but I feel very sorry that I lose some really great questions and maybe repeat similar questions, answers. It's really difficult to catch some of them, and that's why we might need one. And once again, a question about those people who fled Ukraine. Many of them returned, some of them stayed. Of course, there is always a small percentage of people who always dreamt to leave Ukraine, and it may be a nice chance. And a question that I want to answer: do you have moose in Ukraine? Yes, we do. Not many, but we do. And also, we have bisons, and deers, and even bears sometimes, but they come from Romania and from Belarus, and foxes in the park. Good. What is the future for the folks who were deported? It's a difficult question, and like, you mean those that were deported now by Russian orcs? I think that Ukrainian government and Ukrainian people will do everything to return back these people. I know that many of them managed to return back, though the trip was pretty difficult, and they moved from Russia to Europe and then back to Ukraine. But many people, many families were separated. Another tragedy is that many Ukrainian children were actually stolen and adopted by Russian families. And this is one more example of genocide. If you look at the definition of what genocide is, then you will see it is a very serious problem and a tragedy. And you will see the definitions, like what is a genocide. It is not only mass killings as it was during Holodomor. It is also work against the stealing of children, changing their cultural identity. And there were a couple of women who were prisoners of war and taken to Russia, and some of these women were pregnant, and they were also threatened that their children will be taken away to Russian families. And these are huge tragedies to Ukrainians. And many of these deported people, well, they have to return home, and this must be a very serious campaign. But how can you cooperate with Putin's regime? Perhaps first we have to win over that regime. Of course, negotiations on different levels, they happen and they continue, but it is really, really difficult to do. And with Russian orgs, to negotiate with Russian orgs is almost impossible. So, so I see many, many questions, and okay, I don't know, some questions about Zelensky. No, Anna. Just a second, got lost. I am not. Yeah. What about the short clips with operator Starsky? Okay, we promised you that, and we have to try and record that. I see that you like his short videos; they are funny. So perhaps we have to return back to the plan. Greetings to Canada, and I know that many Ukrainians have found their new home in Canada. Okay. Looking for questions, and perhaps it's not interesting for you to look at me while I'm looking at the questions. How's my borscht? Fine. Yeah, actually, recently I have eaten borscht, and you know that every Ukrainian host, every Ukrainian bar, every free Ukrainian restaurant has its own recipe, and it interesting. Like I know that Italians often check the quality of the restaurant by trying pizza margherita. You can do the same thing by trying Ukrainian borscht. Do you think Russia will be divided into different countries after the war? This is my dream. I dream that Russia is divided into different countries after this war. That's the way I see Russian future, and it would be very logical because today Russia imprisoned lots of beautiful cultures, indigenous peoples who live under this Russian parasol, but they are not Russian at all. Like come on, Chechnya, Tatarstan, Siberia. Even in Siberia, people often describe themselves not as Russians, but as Siberians. And this means a lot. And Yakutia proclaimed its independence in 1991 and later returned back to Russia. And many of these regions suffer a lot because Russia is a very centralized country that keeps money in Moscow, in St. Petersburg, in Putin's pockets, and rich regions suffer because they have to give it all to Moscow. So I think that would be a perfect end of this war if Russia became smaller, like Moscow, St. Petersburg, some other things, and many new countries appear. And it would be much easier to negotiate with the leaders of these new democratic countries, to speak with them about, I don't know, gas prices. Maybe they will be better at negotiation. So that is a very nice idea, and I think it would be good. Okay, greetings to Florida. Yeah, I know. Thank you for this idea of a friendly chat. But anyway, help me out, and I will try to interview someone. I feel like I'm ready in this communicative aspect, but I'm not sure if I'm ready in this technical aspect. So this is what I need to work more. Good. Do you listen to Ivan Yakovina? I always look forward. Yes, of course. Why not? And I'm glad that you like his music. And yeah, greetings to Poland. Like Poland is definitely one of my favorite countries, and I have lots of friends in Poland. And I guess, like a Western Ukrainian, I have some roots in Poland. And I have found, like, in my family record, that one of my branches comes from Polish Lithuanian like aristocracy. But it's so sad when you start reading the book and they say, oh, that was a very poor aristocracy branch, and then you're like, why poor? But I know that Poland did a lot and does a lot and will do a lot, and I believe that, like, maybe our future is even more interconnected, and we, like, can build this, like, Baltic Black Sea vertical idea. Maybe a new strength is being born in Europe, and definitely it will be Ukraine, Poland, and other countries that support us. Do I like potato pancakes? And as a Ukrainian, I'm supposed to say yes, but no. Well, they're very popular in Ukraine and Belarus, and I come from the region that is famous in potatoes. Everybody in Volyn eat potatoes, and a lot. And I like fried potatoes. Perhaps this is one of my favorite dishes. Does not sound very, like, girly, but fried potatoes, baked potatoes rule me. And in the form of pancakes, not that much. I can eat them, but sometimes they are too, like, too much fat on them, and I don't know. But they can be very nice if you like one of the recipes, not just to fry them, but then to put them into a bowl, a clay bowl. How do you call it? A pot. To put them in a pot with sour cream, maybe mushrooms, maybe some meat, and put them in an oven for a couple of minutes, and they become very, like, soft and puffy, and that's the recipe that I like even more. you can try it. Uh, so greetings to Texas, and thank you for watching me. And I have answered the question about the moose and the wolves. We also have them, and foxes and rabbits and other beautiful animals and squirrels in the park. Uh, well, like some questions about the comments that get removed. I don't have any specific rules in my channel, though, like I follow the traditional YouTube recommendations, like no hate speech, no other bad things. But sometimes YouTube deletes them. And the algorithm of YouTube can be unpredictable because sometimes the word, for example, like Azov, was treated negatively, and many comments with Azov or something like Nazi word would disappear. And yeah, a nice advice from my friend Henrik, that like most of the trolls that come to my channel, they invite you to Telegram, and Telegram is not popular all over the world. And I never invite you to visit other pages. I never invite you, like especially in comments. If I need something, I will always inform you in the video. Be careful. Of course, I try to report them, but it's not that easy with that. Um, so, mm, yeah. So once again, is be careful. Be careful with those scammers. I always report them. If you have doubts, you may ask me questions, but I never invite you anywhere in comments. Then, what is our national animal? Like, we don't have a national animal. I don't want to say pig because, like, we eat pig meat, and many people say that, like, I don't want you to think about that. But there are many, like, there are many. And for example, in the Carpathian Mountains, it's a lynx. And in my, like, you've actually pinned me with this question. I would think what animals can be as our national one, but there are many. Good. No, I don't invite anyone to a Telegram channel. It's a scammer, and please report if you get some like that. I teach at the university, and the subjects I have mentioned them at the beginning. They are all connected with linguistics. Good. Do I have colleagues who remember 1990s war in Balkans? Yes, and I have some. I even have a friend who is married to man from Montenegro who had his childhood memories about that. So now I have lots of subscribers from Croatia, for example, and I think that countries that went through this experience, they can share much in common. Can I give you a quick lesson on the history of the ancient people of Ukraine? The Scythians, I've read they are some of the history's most revered warriors. Yes, and I think this deserves like a separate video or something, because because these were really strong people, and it seems to me that women were also active in the society, and that's important because women have always occupied an important part in Ukrainian society now, and maybe it was inherited back from this time. I don't like Noam Chomsky, of course, and yes, I think sanctions should continue after the war. Yeah, I also think of like after we finish with the ideas for Soviet myths debunked, to focus more on some positive sides of Ukrainian history, and of course your idea with the Scythians, we call them Skife in Ukrainian, Skife and Sarmatians would be more interesting. And I will try to think of that. You can also give me ideas about what kind of videos you would like to see in the future. Okay, maybe a couple of questions more, and I will let you go back into your beautiful lives, to your teas and coffees. If you like this video, thumbs up, that is important. And thank you for becoming my patrons and buying me coffees. I always try to answer all the comments that I receive from my patrons and from those who buy me coffee. It is not the main priority, and the main priority is sharing information about my beautiful country, Ukraine, and the situation that is going on right now. But it helps me film some additional videos like Soviet myths debunked, and I want to to continue growing in that way, because vlogging is one thing, and I feel like the world needs to know so much about Ukraine. There are so many interesting things that I can share with you. So I do hope that. Okay. A trident was our symbol since the times of Kiev Rus, and it was depicted on coins of that time, and like since that times, but I cannot explain you directly the meaning, but it comes from the old times, and it was mainly repeated. The food vlog, yeah, that would be interesting to have a food vlog and to introduce you to that. And okay, could you? Okay, I could end the stream with Ukrainian national anthem, but I'm a very bad singer. I have to confess you. I sing very bad. Like if you watch in the movies, like those people who cannot repeat the melody and everybody is laughing at them, that's me. And the only song that I am singing is the national anthem. And but I do it only in a chorus, not like solo. And maybe one day. I remember I was even feeling shy to do that when I was but then I realized, especially during the times of war, since 2014 I have started singing. And even if you stand close to me and you hear that I'm not really good at singing, I hope you forgive me, and like people forgive me, and it's not important, because um, it's more about like feelings to your country and the demonstration of your country. Mm, whistle, yeah. Um, your opinion on Zelensky? Do you feel that Zelensky decision to stay in Ukraine, it was very important? Uh, it was very important to that he did not escape. I have mentioned in a couple of my videos that I was not a huge fan of Zelensky, but I'm really proud of many of his actions that he took during this day and days, and that he stayed, and that he demonstrated the world that Ukraine is fighting, and we all united. And pretty soon, like we saw that pretty soon we saw that we are united, and we are together, and that is really important and really good. So thank you for that. Um, Okay, maybe one last question, and I will be like letting you go. Um, Crimean, will we visit Crimea next time? Well, Crimea is, of course, Ukraine, despite anything that Elon Musk says. But and I'm sure that soon it will return back to Ukraine and it will be a part of our country again. And it is a very beautiful part of Ukraine, a very historic one. Once again, connected with the Scythian and Sarmatians, and also it has beautiful nature, it has mountains, it has sea, it has history. Many of old Greek like architecture and buildings were there. So I think it might be very interesting for you to discover Crimea too. And I'm sure that after this short period of Russian occupation, annexation, and being a part of the Ruski Mir, like many people inside Crimea feel anxious to return back to Ukraine, and they feel like they are looking forward for the moment when the territories of Ukraine and the borders of Ukraine are restored back to the 1991. And okay, maybe one last question, and um, and that will be it. But I have to confess that I really enjoy our conversation, and it is a very nice tradition. Please let me know, maybe you would like me to dedicate one of these vlogs to a specific topic, so that this won't be just general questions and answers, but something more about like history of Ukraine, or education in Ukraine, or maybe food in Ukraine, or whatever. Also, now you can become sponsors of my channel, and you can of course subscribe, share, and become my patrons, buy me coffee. I am still learning this new possibilities that YouTube gives, like super chat. It seems to me it's not available for Ukraine, but you can become my sponsors, and I see that many people receive that, and that is really beautiful. Thank you once again for your support, for being with my country, Ukraine, for the kind words that you leave in your comments. Please subscribe. Please let me know what are the topics you would like me to cover. And I'm very much honored to have you as my friends, because honestly, I'm so happy that like the number of subscribers grow, but I'm also very happy that these are all people who are interested in Ukraine and our history, and most importantly, our future. So, Slava Ukraini! Thank you very much. See you.